Hello, hello. This is Bev Hill with Bev Hill Arts and Crafts. And we've got it on the schedule that we're going to do a noon central, 1 o'clock. So my apologies, I'm just 2 minutes late. But this is for the kit where we're going to make shaker cards. And if you didn't get the kit, you're still welcome to follow along with me and look at the shaker techniques. I'll show you the supplies I'm going to use, so maybe you've got some things at home that you can adjust and craft along. So I'm just going to find myself in camera and make sure I keep my hands in the screen. All right, for those of you that got the kit, very important, don't throw away your packaging. The packaging that that I sent all the items in is part of your kit, so we need to use this bag. So set it aside nice and carefully. We're going to use our packaging. Okay, these are the 2 cards we're going to make today. 2 little techniques for making shaker cards. Hello, hello. Nice to see you guys joining me live. So we're going to make shaker cards today. So if you have some sequins or seed beads, or you can use a paper punch and punch paper. It doesn't matter. But we're going to do some shaker cards. So I'll go over the supplies that I'm going to use. I've got a couple varieties of 2-sided tape. A really narrow one is good for making shaker cards. So if you have a narrow 2-sided tape, otherwise you're probably cutting your tape. But that's good. I've tried glue. I just don't like, we're working with some really slippery, porous pieces when it's acetate, so the glue just doesn't work great. It takes a long time to dry and it easily smears, so that's why I stay away. Hello, hello. All right, so I like a narrow 2-sided tape. If you've got one of those, grab it. If you didn't get a kit and want to play along, any packaging that you've got around the house, save that packaging. It's a nice weight for the one technique that we're going to do. So we'll want some clear packaging. We also need some foam tape. If I had 1/8 foam tape, I would like that because I'm going to be cutting my foam tape. So if you have a narrow tape, that would be better, but we can make anything work. And then we're going to make 2 card bases. So in the kit, you should have 8.5 by 11 paper, and you should have all of your pieces in your envelopes. So let's start with this guy because he's on top. So find your kit where I've cut out the little die circle, and that's this card here that we're going to make. So I'm going to get the other card out of the way. And let's also break the news to you that you're going to fussy cut that printout. And I'm just going to use the leftovers from that sheet. So I printed it on a heavyweight, well, it was 65 pound. So it's got a little girth to it, right? A little weight to it. So while I'm talking, start cutting out 2 focal points that you want to use. When I originally made it, I did the bear. I don't know which little guy I'll use today. And then I also included a sheet of images for sentiments that you can cut out. And I just trimmed them real high and tight. So you can do Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. Since I've got this one in my hand, I'm going to go ahead and cut out one of my Merry Christmas. So I'm going to go as close to my end, not cutting off this S, and I'm going to trim my opposite side too, that way they're all trimmed pretty close. And I'm going to come real close. I'm just eyeballing where my letters are hitting there, just like that, and then I'm going to scooch it and try not to cut off Mary. So instead of sending you stamps in the mail, I printed these on Word in different fonts and then just gave you the whole sheet. So you're going to have lots of leftovers that you can or do not need to use. But this is the one I'll use today for this card. So I'm going to set it off to the side so I don't lose it. And you're going to be fussy cutting. I hope you have a beautiful day where you are. Where I am, the sun is shining. It's a nice deep blue sky with just a few little clouds, but it is not warm. I think our 80s are gone for good until next season. All right, for those of you who have a kit, we're going to carefully open up and see what's in here. So you should have 2 pieces of acetate. Now this is not packaging, this is acetate, so it's a heavier weight, and we have 2 pieces. And we have our cut piece of white, and this is a heavier weight white paper, and I've just used a die cut circle, and we have a red and gold piece. All right, so let's, hopefully you're fussy cutting away, and we're going to make 2 card bases. So I'm going to place my paper along the 11, and I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2. And then if you have a scoreboard, you can use that, or you can just fold them in half. So for today, I'm going to fold this in half, just meeting both of my corners, just like so. So there's one of my card bases. I'll set that over here with my other supplies, and I've got one more to do. Just gonna fold it in half. All right, so let's go ahead, just for the sake of getting some of the loose pieces glued down. Let's glue the gold down. This is from Spellbinders. I really like their gold foil. And I'm going to use my clear glue just because I, for some reason, put everything on crooked, and this allows me to slide it into place. So when it's glue, I'm coming in a little bit from the edge because glue is going to squish, and I don't want it to squish over my outside edge. So I'm just laying it down and then sliding it into place. I'm eyeballing top, bottom, left, and right. Okay, just like that. And then you should have a red mat that I've pre-cut for you, hopefully in a good dimension. Check it first. I'm not a perfect cutter, so if you feel like you need to even it up, feel free to do that. And I'm just now sliding it into place. There's not a, I don't allow a huge edge of gold. I just want that little glimmer. So it's about 1/16 of an inch on all 4 sides of what your gold will be showing. Okay? So believe it or not, we're ready to make the shaker. So we're gonna find this piece, and there is a right and a wrong side. And you can tell, you know, the side that's a little rougher cut is the back side, and that's the side we're going to be working with. And this is where I'm going to use my narrow 2-sided tape, which I've now lost. I really have lost my narrow tape. There it is. Okay, so I'm not an authority on shaker cards. I can just tell you how I have self-taught myself. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a piece of narrow tape, and I'm going to come as close to that inside circle edge as I can. Okay, just as close as I can. And I'm going to do the same thing at this bottom edge. I'm just making a box, giving it a good burnish with my finger. Whoops, it didn't tear. There we go. And do the same thing here. Just getting it as close as I comfortably can. And coming across here again. Whoops, now it tore in the wrong place. Man, the score tape is, we're battling. I just had that extra piece. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is peel away my release paper. Okay, and find one sheet of your acetate. So this is going to go right along these score tape pieces. And I cut it pretty close, but center it up where your acetate isn't hanging over either one of your edges. So now that should be a tight window against that open circle. So it's nice and tight against that die. All right, so now we're going to build a place for all of our little sequins to live in. So I'm going to need to make mine a little bit more narrow. So I'm just going to cut some pieces of my foam tape, and I'm going to cut them in half or into strips. So I'm going to come right along my edge because I don't have a lot of width. And then we're going to make a rough circle. So I'm going to come and make sure that I am meeting up. I don't want to leave any openings between these two. So this one is touching so that a sequin can't shake up and out of there. It doesn't have to be a beautiful circle, but they all just need to be butted against each other. I hope that makes sense. They need butted against each other. So now I'm going to take this little piece and I'm going to come as close to my circle without showing and butting up to that other piece I just laid down. And I don't like to pull a piece of tape. You can make a circle out of it, but it kind of puckers, right? It kind of pulls, and I just don't like that. So this is how I prefer to do it, because no one is going to see this part of our card. No one will see it. And there are things out on the market that you can make a shaker with, like little domes that they sell, and they're fine. I just feel they look a little manufactured, and I like a more organic kind of a feel. Personal preference completely. How are you able to cut your foam tape? You know, it might be different brands of foam tape, or it might be my scissors. I'm sorry, I don't know. Do you have foam tape that tears instead of cuts? I know that I'm not dilly-dallying, and I kind of held it with my finger. Let me do that again, because sometimes you don't even know what you're doing until you do it. So I'm holding it with my finger, trimming, and my finger still has it. So see if that helps, Nancy. I didn't quite get this one to butt up, but I don't think, I've got maybe 1/32 of a little opening. I don't think sequin can slip through there. So I'm good there. Now, so I've got a place, I've built a wall for my sequins to live in. The other thing I want to do is I don't want there to be little push gaps when I flip it over. So I'm going to put some support up in that corner. And I'm going to put some support up in this corner. Okay. And I'm gonna put some support on this overhang portion. Nancy, let me know if that helped. Nope, it didn't help. Well, it might be the brand of foam tape, and I don't even know what brand this is because it's out of the packaging. Okay, so it's not pretty, right? Nobody's going to see this though. So I'm good with it. All right, so now it's time to carefully open our sequin packs. And I see mine are stuck there, but I'm going to just cut it open rather than try to peel it open and jostle it. So now I've got a little pack of sequins. And the other thing I included was I did a die cut. You know, I wonder if there's something you can put on your scissors. Butter, I'm kidding, but you know what I mean? If there is something that would help kind of put a layer between you and the sticky on those scissors. Vegetable oil, or I might be getting a little too creative. Oh shoot, Nancy. Well, if you have dimensional dots, it would take a little longer. I know, right? But you could put little squares around all of them and maybe they would cut easier. Or you can just do it flat against each other, but you just won't want to put. So instead of making this groove, you would just lay them down, and then we're going to do the next step. So, and that is a technique. So if that's not working, okay. So what I did is I had one of those rectangle background dies that you can cut, and then, well, here, I'll show you what my leftover one is. So this was my die, and I had foam green glitter, and so I just cut it out and threw the circles in your envelope for added sequins, because I didn't want you to have to find sequins. But this is not two-sided. So if you had two-sided glitter, you wouldn't have to be careful. But if you're going to add these pieces, and I just kept the half pieces and gave you guys the circles, when we lay these in, you're going to want to make sure that your pretty glitter side is what's facing out. Okay? So I'm just going to throw a few in here. So you don't have to have sequins or seed beads to make a shaker card. You can take a paper punch and punch a bunch of confetti. If you want to add glitter to them, just be sure that the pretty side's facing out, which would be away from us right now, right? So I've got, that's plenty for me, I think, for this card. And I was really low on sequins when I was building, so I shorted myself. So I'm not going to have a lot to add in here. Let's see. But it'll be adorable. Oh, I'm getting more green. That's fine. So sequins don't matter, front or back. And you start to deal with static electricity, right? These guys are wanting to flip over. Let's see what I got. I'm gonna get down to some more sequins. All right, so here I've got some, whoops. This is fun, guys. All right. I think that'd be enough to shake around. You don't want it so thick that it looks pregnant, right? That it starts to bulge out when we put it together. So you want them to lay kind of flat. I'm gonna throw these back in for my next one. All right, carefully set that off to the side. Now, there's two rules. I've tried both ways. So I could have peeled off all my release paper first and then put these in, but the risk is one of these guys is going to go in the center and get caught on that sticky. So instead, I always opt to do it this way, but you have to be careful because if you, as I peel these away, I'm supporting it on the other side with my finger so that I don't bounce it or jostle it, so that they don't shake and shimmy as best I can. Look at, I'm being careful and I still have one. Jump up there. Get back down in where you're going to live. So this does, shaker cards do take time. And they take patience and being a little slower and gentler than perhaps I am sometimes in my crafting. So I'm very gently moving this around. Because you see, it doesn't take too much to jostle it. All right, so now I've got sticky pieces, so I cannot hold that. So I'm just holding on to the paper itself. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and peel these top two, not my bottom support pieces, but just these top two, because my acetate may cover just a little bit of that, which is just fine. It's not wanting to peel up. There we go. All right, I'm going to look up and see if there's any questions. We need to find our other piece of acetate. And before you lay it over top, when you get this over top, it's going to want to pull these away because of static electricity. So I am ready. So I am going to eyeball and place with confidence right now. See that? Because if I dilly-dally, it's going to start peeling them up. They're going to want to hop up to that piece of acetate. All right, so now they live in a little window box. So, and if yours didn't work as far as foam goes, then you could just put another layer of two-sided tape and stick it down without the gap. So what I'm doing now is making sure that the acetate that I just placed on this exposed foam has all made good contact, okay? Because we don't want any open gaps that those sequins are going to sneak out. All right, so now I've got my shaker and it's all sealed. So if you flip over, you can see your little pretties shaking around in there. And look, I've got some that are on the wrong side, but I'm just going to live with it. They just look lime green. Okay, so now we want to add this to the front of our card base, right? Just like that. And it's going to live upward a little bit. And there's room that it shakes for your recipient to enjoy. Okay, so let's flip her over. And now this has been, the sticky part is covered. So we don't want any more dimension. It's where we get our narrow two-sided tape back out. So this will work just fine to hold down our piece here, but I need some adhesive up here, making sure I'm not going over my window. Doing the same thing on this side, just getting myself some tape that will hold it in place. Gonna come across my bottom. Just making sure I don't go over that pretty window. And then on this top as well. So now, just like any card, we've got our adhesive ready to peel away and lay down onto our card. I'm gonna look up and see if there's any questions. Looks like we're doing okay. All right, so I'm going to flip it over. It's all nice and secure, and I'm going to center it up, top and bottom, left and right. Looks pretty good. And here is our cute little shaker card. So hopefully you have got one of your images all cut out and ready to go. And that's a lot of kind of a burnt red to the red, so I don't think I'll use him. He's pretty cute. Or I do have kind of in the same color wheel, this little reindeer. I think I'll use him because it's closer to the same color of the original one that I did. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll keep him close to the same. So the other thing I did is I popped this guy up with foam tape too. So I'm gonna flip him over, get out my foam tape. Isn't that so cute, Dawn? I'm glad you like it. I think shaker cards take practice, not in the fact that they're complicated, but there's just a lot of little moving parts to think about. And my first couple of shaker cards that I made, sequins snuck out of there until I learned how to make them mine. But I'll tell you, anybody who gets a shaker card, they sure like them. And all of these little images have lots of little overhangs, right? So I want to make sure that they're supported. Oh, Nancy, thank you. Let's see, that's a little too big. I need to get his antlers supported a little bit. I don't want whoever gets these cards to just smush it down. All right, that's good enough for me. So this guy's gonna live here, and he's gonna go over top of that acetate too, and it'll stick there just fine. Now my guy's a little taller than this guy was with the antlers, so I'm gonna come down a little bit on mine. So let me show you. And I kept, for me, the imperfect die cut. I sent in the kits the good ones, and I was too lazy to cut another one for me that didn't have the blemish. My cutting plates on my Big Shot are just so old and dirty. They've cut so many papers. This is just black paper fibers that was left over when I cut black paper. So I'm gonna hide that with a sequin for me. All right, so now I'm going to lay this guy, and I have to stand up, and I'm going to lay him pretty centered and over top of my little shaker opening. Okay, and now let's find a few of our spare sequins. Oh, that's not my sequin bag. Where is my sequin? Here it is. Okay. And Glossy Accents is a glue, and it's got a pretty good fine tip to it. So what I'm going to do now is, especially right here, I'm going to cover up my blemish with a sequin. And since I've got silver sequins in my shaker, silver will be good. And then I'm going to throw a little blue one right here. Like that. And let's see, I have a white. How does that look? Yeah, and I don't like to make an exact triangle, but I do like it in threes. So I'm going to come Maybe just a little closer. Just telling you how my brain works. All right, and then I'm going to put one little guy, maybe white. Oh, I should have put my sentiment on first. Oh, well. All right, so that one can go there. And then I'll put one blue one up here. And I'm going to let these set for a minute, and I've got one more finishing touch that I do with these sequins to help them, because my experience is they kind of pop off the card after a little while. So if you don't want that to happen, we'll do another added step just to kind of secure them. All right, I need to find my little Merry Christmas, because whoopsie. And I think I'm going to go this way this time so that I can see my little bell also. You get the idea. It's kind of like he's holding it with his hand there. And I'm going to take my scissors and trim it a little tighter and at an angle. I'm just going to kind of go along that S, just like that. And I'll come and do the same thing to my corner on Mary. And then I can trim this with my scissors just a little tighter and narrower, just like that. All right, so I'm going to add a little glue, and this guy overhangs a lot, so I'm going to throw a little piece of foam tape right on the end there. Just going to cut a little piece. 3s are best, Dawn. Okay. So this should be just fine. I'm going to kind of go at an angle, and I'll test it out. So see, he's got a little support there, and he's fine across his belly. So from about the Y down, I'm going to throw my glue. I can kind of see it through the light there. I want to be able to see my bell, and he's holding it with his hand. So that's my Merry Christmas this time. All right, and I need to get my sequins back in the box for my next card. And we're going to do some finishing touches now. If you have, I've got some stickles, and this one's Twinkle. Twinkle and Unicorn, I think, are my favorites. So what I'm going to do is add a blob of glitter to the center of my sequins to help hold them down, kind of finish gluing them from the top to the back. Just kind of help secure them to the card. Just like that. And they'll level out a little bit. And then I'm going to find my glossy accents. There it is. And just add a little zhuzhing up on my little guy, my little reindeer. So right here. Get his little lights. Get his little nose. Might do just a tiny hit on his eyes and above his eyebrows, and that way it doesn't run in together and make a big blob. And then his scarf shows up for mine, so I'm going to do a little ziggity zag, and then I'll hit the bell and do my little outline. That's probably about it. On the, if you're doing the little bear, I did the lights, the Christmas lights, and his hat. I did his whole little nose area and his eyes and his eyebrow. And then it looks like I came back with my stickles. Let's see if we can give him a little brightening up. Just a little glimmer with the glitter. zhuzhing it up. I don't think we need to do anything with his boots. So that's the first technique, and then the finishing touches. You're just building a little house for those sequins to live in. All right, I'm going to set these aside, let them dry, and we're going to go to the second technique. And the second technique doesn't take any foam tape to make the shaker. So we should be in good shape. We will be using our packaging this time around. Let's just tidy up a little bit, set these off to the side, and we'll make our second card. Suddenly it's warm in my room. It's that time of year where it's cold or it's warm. A piece of gum. All right, let's find our second envelope. And this is your card envelope. I'm going to set mine off to the side. Here's our card base. This is the card we're making. I did not ship glitter in your kit. If you want to add some glitter, you can. I'll probably add some glitter today because I don't have a lot of sequins left, although it's not one of my favorite looks. So to each his own on their taste. I totally get it. All right, here's our pieces. So let's go ahead and glue some down, and we're opening this way now. So we're going to glue the gold on first. And I'm just going to slide it into place, kind of eyeballing top and bottom, left and right. That looks pretty centered. And now we've got the red that we'll add to our gold. If you make these at home, you can use stamped sentiments. You can use pieces from ephemera. You could use stickers. Okay, and let's go ahead and glue this centered up here. So this is our card just waiting for our little shaker. Okay, so I'm going to set these two things to the side because now we're going to build the shaker piece. So we've got our packaging, and I'm going to trim. So I'm going to measure this because I don't remember what it was. This is our little white piece. It's 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So let's cut this 2 inches bigger. So 3 1/4 would be 5 1/4. So I'm going to get my seam edge. I've got like a little seam on my packaging that I'm using. So I'm going to cut to 5 1/4. Oh, if I can get my bottom edge. Get yourself a clean piece of paper. So I'm just going to take off this bottom pouch. So now I've got a piece of my paper. Okay. So 5 1/4. By 6 1/2. So we've got a piece of packaging, right? Okay. And this is, we're going to put this over, we're going to build a pouch and throw our sequins down in there, okay? So just center up your paper. And I'm going to use, I've got a little tape runner. And I'm going to give myself a nice double run and fold over nice and tight to my edge. Nice and tight. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the opposite end. So not my next side, but my opposite side. So let me turn it so you can see again. And I'm going to give a nice double run because I've got a full inch-ish, pulling it nice and tight. Okay, so now I'm going to take my scissors on one end, and I'm not going to go to the very tip here. I'm going to leave about 1/8 and cut it at an angle. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to leave about 1/8 and cut it at an angle. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to fold up nice and tight and tape down. But I don't want a little place here for my sequins to sneak out. So I'm going to come right to my edges. And I'm going to probably have to come both directions here so I'm not pulling that. And then once I've got that really good and adhered with adhesive, I'm going to fold up nice and tight so that my edges are nice and sealed. So now we have a pouch, and that's where we're going to sneak our sequins in. I would not, you can put in your green, you're just going to want to put those in one at a time and slide them in so that your glitter is facing the front, right? So let's see what I have here. What do I have left? All right, so I'm going to put these in one at a time, sneak them in. I can get my hand back down, maybe you can see that I'm making sure that as I sneak these in my pouch, I'm trying to keep the glitter side up. So it's better if you can use some paper that's two-sided and it doesn't matter if they flip over. All right, and now I'm going to try to get the rest of these pieces minus the green. I'm going to sneak these in that pouch as well. You have to do it a couple times. And we wouldn't have to be so careful if we weren't trying to keep those green right side up. You could just make the bigger pouch and throw them all in. Because I don't have a lot, I'm going to keep scooping everything that's fallen off to the side. Get off there. Okay, I think I have, yep, I have another silver one. Now, seed beads are really pretty too. So that's what I've got. Not a lot. So I am going to shake just a tad of glitter. See if I can get that to shake in there. Glitter's fun. And I think I have some green glitter. So we just made a little pouch that we're sneaking stuff in. Okay. And I think I have some white glitter. If I can get the pouch to open. There we go. All right. I'm just kind of mixing it all up carefully. So now we're going to flip this over, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trim my edge, but leaving about 1/8 of an inch. Find my little tape runner. Come real close, and I'm gonna come this direction, and I'm gonna flip around and come this direction, just so I'm not challenging my pieces that are already on there. All right, and now tightly pull and fold. So we have made a pouch of our shaker images. And mine's got the glitter in it. Okay? So this is what we're gonna glue now to our front card panel. Isn't that so cute? So it doesn't have a lot of shake room, but it's still got the confetti feel, right? So I'm gonna flip it over to the back, and now I'm gonna use, I happen to have a white or two-sided tape, so that's what I'm gonna grab. Anything would work, but it's a little slippery or porous of a surface, and I want it to feel high and tight to this gold that I'm gonna put on. So I'm just gonna make sure it's got a good amount of adhesive, and that it's a nice strong adhesive that's gonna hold it down. And I'm coming as close to my edge as I can too. So see, I'm coming pretty close to my edge. And then I'm gonna do a crisscross in the middle here, just for added support. All right, and then we're going to lay it centered up onto our card base and press down. So that's how you use packaging. These guys I'm not gonna pop up this time. They're just gonna go right flat to that piece, and I'm gonna use 2 of them and then pick another sentiment. So I'm gonna go ahead and use Art Glitter Glue. I remember correctly, this did glue pretty well to my packaging, which is a very porous, slippery surface. I'm just going to kind of let them go sideways a little bit. And here's his friend. We'll do a little bit in the middle. Got 2 friends here, feeling festive. And I'm just kind of holding them while we've tacked them in place. And I need to find my strip of sentiments. I need to pick another one for this card. All right, well, let's go to this set. Got a mess. So I'm going to go as tight as I can without cutting the letters. And I'm going to go ahead and go at an angle again, because I think that finishes it off nicely. And I'm just going to kind of overhang both guys there and go ahead and glue that down. Okay, so now I've got my glossy accent somewhere. Glue, glue. Here it is, it tipped over. Okay. So I'm going to give some enhancements. I'm going to give his little fuzzy hat topper a little zhuzh. And the lines along his hat, I'm going to go ahead. Just give him a little something. I'm going to go ahead and do his beak. And his nose. And then I'll just do the dots on the wreath here. And then I'm just going to do an underline under Happy Holidays. Just a clear underline to emphasize it. And that's probably all I do. And here's the one I did. So if you wanted to opt for the little bunny and looks like a mouse, they had more to zhuzh up. So I had the ornaments in her hair and same thing here and the little berries. I did the steam coming out of his cup and the bow on her little present. And then I gave him little polka dots on their shoes. I did outline both ears. I could do that on this guy. We've got the little fox. So we could outline his ears. Just brings them out a little bit. And I could actually put the polka dots on his hat. And he's got a little scarf that we could and there you have it, our two little shaker cards, the demo and then the one we made today. So we've got the little pouch technique, and we also had the build the little house for them to live in technique. And that's it, guys. And I just smushed that one that was wet. There we go. Crisis averted. I'm going to look up and see if there's any questions. If you bought this kit and you're watching at a later time, if you have a question, you know, feel free to message here and I will monitor it. And I think that's everything. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have fun making shaker cards. Just remember, they're going to take a little bit more time and a little bit of patience. Right, Tracy? It's a cute little way. You don't have to have a lot of supplies on hand to make a shaker card. Well, have a great rest of the day. If you're watching not on a replay at a later date, then I hope you enjoyed the rest of our World Card Making Day events and that you join us at our flash sale tonight and enjoy the rest of your day whenever that is. And we'll see you again at the next event. Have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.